I don't know if you guys knew this, but you have to have your milk off the desk and you have to have your microphone on in order for it to work. So, yeah. Hello everybody on YouTube, my name is Ricky Ryan Ray, and today I am coming to you with a video about how to capture a star trails photo and how to edit that photo in a very simple and quick way. Yes, I do have a new look from my previous videos. In my previous videos, I'm wearing wireframe glasses, which I only learned about 3 weeks ago, was something that only old men wore. So if you're wearing wireframes and you didn't know you were an old man, I apologize. But according to my wife, it makes you an old man. So we're actually gonna go out to Lake Brownwood. We're gonna head out that way. I just checked the Sky Guide app and it shows that the moon is not out right now. It is about 10 o'clock at night. So the Sky Guide app, I don't know if you have ever downloaded this app, but it is a fantastic app to have because well, that's the sun. See, you can search for the moon because sometimes it's hard to find it. The moon right now is below the horizon and it's a new moon, so it's extra dark. So it says that the moon is actually going to rise at 8:26 a.m. So really we have all night. It just set and it's a new moon. So if only it was June, then we can get some awesome Milky Way shots. But unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait. But before we head out there, I do want to go over some things that you do need to make sure you have. Of course, equipment is always a good thing to talk about. So the first thing that I want to make sure that I have is a lens that's going to capture as many stars as possible, but also have the stars looking really bright. Now, of course, that really doesn't matter as much with a star trails photo, but I like the way it looks because the stars actually seem to be a little bit more bulbous whenever you're using something with a lower aperture. So I do have the Rokinon 14mm f2.8. The other feature that it has that's highly important with the lens is it's 14mm, so it's a really wide angle. So something else that you're going to need is obviously the camera. I've always said that the camera is the #1 thing. Now, I do have a 70D, which is actually pretty good with noise. So the next thing that you're going to want to make sure that you have is a tripod that's going to stay sturdy, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be stacking several photos. I really don't know how many photos I'm going to be stacking. I'm thinking maybe somewhere around 100. That way we can start getting the full circle effect. And so we want a tripod that's going to stay exactly still. That way our foreground, when we stack these photos, doesn't have a bunch of, like double silhouetted houses in the distance or double street light off of the corner or something like that. You're going to want to just make sure that it stays completely solid and in place. So I have the Manfrotto tripod, which is really good. Super old tripod. I can't wait to get a new one. But this thing is like made of steel, so it's really heavy. So the last thing you're going to want to make sure you have is a intervalometer, which I bought this off of eBay for like 15-20 bucks. I can't really remember, but it was really not that much money, and it got to my house actually really quick. It was like in 2 days I had it. But this is the Gen 2. You can see that right there. Let's see if I can get this to focus on it. Yeah, so the Gen 2, so you can see how to spell it. Just look that up and you'll be able to find that on eBay, no problem for sure, or Amazon, something like that. But you're gonna set how many shots you want to take, which I have it set right now at 399 photos. So I'm not gonna be taking that many though. There's a little thing on here that says long. That's how long you want the photo to take. So I have it set for 20 seconds, and then the interval is set to 5 seconds. So that means it's gonna have 5 seconds after the shot where it's kind of letting, since I'm shooting in RAW, it's letting that shot read to the camera or to the car. Good intervalometer, super cheap, and works really well. So let's take our gear and our creative minds and let's head out there to the lake. You wanna go? You wanna go get some photos? Okay, so I'm out here at the location. I'm actually speaking, I'm going to speak a little bit soft because there's houses that are just right over here, and I don't want to, startle anybody. It's now 10:30 at night, but I have my camera set up here. If you can even see it, it's kind of dark, and the lake is just right there. Now, the reason why I like this spot, there's this light that's right here, and that kind of illuminates the water just enough that whenever I get a shot of these stars, it actually will give me a good foreground. So I'll go ahead and show you what that's going to look like. So it's taking the shot right now. So by checking that Sky Guide app, you can also see where the stars are just by pointing your phone, so you know exactly where you're going to be pointing your camera. So that's really cool. So by using that Sky Guide app, I can see that Polaris is just right there. Polaris is the North Star. So that means if you're getting a star trails photo, point your camera at Polaris. You don't have to, but it makes these awesome circles in the sky. So you're actually going to see the rotation of the Earth, and it's really, really neat because you'll just see Polaris right there in the center. So here is my intervalometer. Like you can see, I have a 20-second long photo being taken and a 5-minute interval. So all I have to do is hit this button in the top right, and it will start taking photos. All right, photo 1 down, 99 at least to go. So we'll be out here for a little while. All right, guys, so I noticed after a while that I wasn't seeing the screen come on, which I should see it every 25 seconds. So I got out of my car to go check it. Sure enough, the batteries in my intervalometer died. But luckily, if you've ever seen me with this bag in my videos, the reason why is because I have a lot of things in there, like extra batteries for when something like that happens. So let's go put those in and get this time lapse going again, or star trails, but same thing. Let's start. So once again, 1 photo down, about 99 to go. It is now 11:30, so I have been out here for about an hour and 15 minutes. Getting a star trails photo is essentially the same as taking a time lapse or capturing a time lapse. So keep in mind that it is going to take a while when you're out there. And I mean, you can get a star trail photo after taking photos for about 10 minutes, but of course your star trails aren't going to be very long. But if that's the effect you're going for, then you won't be out there for very long. However, I think a good rule is about an hour for those ultra wide shots. Okay, so we are now back in Brownwood, and I am wearing something completely different, and that is because I filmed this 2 days after what you just saw. So yeah, we have the photos loaded into Lightroom, and we're gonna go ahead and edit those. So let's go ahead and dive on in. So here we have all the photos inside the library, and it may seem like these are already edited, and that's because they are, or they were. I reset all the settings, but I actually had something weird happen with the audio of the video, so I had to re-record everything. So yeah, that's one reason why this is coming to you 2 days after. So let's go ahead and hit develop, and we're just going to choose this first one here. This was the raw file right here. Super gross looking. And the reason why it's super green like this is because that street light that I showed you in the video casts that green look to the foreground. So it illuminates, yes, but it adds green. So now, how are we going to cancel that? Well, most people would say, well, add magenta. That's all you got to do. But if we do that until the foreground looks neutral, well, now the sky's real purple and pink on the horizon. So we don't want to do that. Actually, we might add just a little bit because the sky itself is a little bit on the green side as well. So we'll do that right there. A good way to test how the color balance is in your photo is to go ahead and increase both of that, both the vibrance and the saturation, and then set this to where it's a good neutral. You got a little bit of blues and greens, and you also have a little bit of warmer colors like red and orange. So now that's a neutral sky right there. But the foreground is still green. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our graduated filter. For some reason our dehaze tool is all the way up, so that does not look good. Our dehaze tool is being a tool. No, we're going to go ahead and reset all these settings. But now we can just add blue until the foreground, and then let's see, add blue until the foreground looks a little bit better, and add a little bit more magenta as well. So now that foreground looks a little bit more, we'll add a little bit of saturation, but it looks a little bit more neutral, which is good. So there's our foreground. Now, I don't really like all this right here. It's like really bright. So I'm gonna get this filter here and just make a couple of strokes. Like that. Dehaze tool is being weird again. But then we're gonna go ahead and put, there we go. Because it was nighttime, right? So we want it to look like nighttime. So yeah, at night there's a lot more blues and stuff. You don't see those bright browns and warm colors during nighttime, so it just looks a little funky. Now this is a city over here, which I don't mind that being in the photo. I think it looks fine. It's really cool because you can see there's these, let me take this off. There's these stars right here inside that city light. So it looks really cool to see a streak actually going through them. To see that there was a star being captured that was that low on the horizon. I think that's really neat, actually. Now, for the actual photo itself, now that we have all that completed, which, if you want to see, that was the original, and that's what we have now. Neutral, nice looking. Now, since this isn't a Milky Way photo, we're not going to be increasing the whites and I mean, we are going to increase the whites, but we're not going to increase the contrast and make all these local adjustments in order to really bring out the contrast in the Milky Way. We really are just going to increase the whites so that we pull out a little bit more stars, increase the clarity because that'll also pull out some more stars, and then we're going to come down here to luminance, because if you can't tell in a YouTube video typically, but there's a whole bunch of noise, and you might actually be able to see that because that's quite a bit of noise. I have some rogue pixels, but those will be fine. We'll just leave those for this. We're going to increase the luminance. I always go to around 30. I think it looks fine. The foreground starts to look a little bit wavy, but just drop that down actually about 20. There we go, that looks a little bit better. So that's literally, and we're gonna remove chromatic aberration. Always do that. There's not really ever a time when you want chromatic aberration. So yeah, remove chromatic aberration. And that'll get rid of some of the purple hazing around the stars. But that's literally our entire photo for a star trail. This part doesn't take very long. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to, since we have that one selected, we're gonna scroll over to the last one that we want to sync the settings with. We're gonna hit sync. Now I want to sync everything, local adjustments, everything, because the camera was in place the whole time. So a lot of times people will uncheck that because it doesn't apply to every photo, but in this case it does. So we're gonna go ahead and sync all the settings. Now everything should be synced. We can go ahead and look at some of these other photos. And it looks fine. So it looks good. So let's go ahead and go back to library. Make sure we have all the ones selected that we want to export. We're going to come up here. We're going to go File, Export, and we are going to create a folder called Tutorial dash. Well, actually, I don't think you can use dashes. Just Tutorial Star Trail. And that's going to the desktop, so it's going to be in a folder, the desktop. So we're only going to have a 91 photo star trail, which is fine. Now, like I said, you want to get around 100, so this is a little bit fewer than what I like, but it's still going to look pretty cool. Now, the best star trails is whenever you're out there taking a full, 300 photos. That looks really cool. But for right now, we're gonna go ahead and just wait for all these to export, and then we will go ahead and get to stacking these things. All right. All right, so we're actually going to be editing these photos in Photoshop. Now, most videos that you'll see people doing tutorials on making a star trail photo, you're going to see them using star stacks, which I do have star stacks, but if you're like me, I just wanted to know how to do it in Photoshop. Like I do use star stacks, but I always wanted to know how to do it in Photoshop. So that's what I'm gonna be showing you. There's a really simple way to do it in Photoshop, and it takes 2 seconds. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna hit new. Put my phone down here. But we're gonna come up here to File. Go to File, we're gonna go to Scripts. Go down to Load Files into Stack, ... Be very precise. We're gonna go to Browse, ... And we're going to go to our desktop. We're gonna go to the folder that we made, which was called Tutorial Star Trail. Now we're gonna go Command A in order to select all of the images. Hit Open, hit OK. And now it's gonna take a good anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to open all of these photos as layers. All right, so now with all of these photos open, we have 91 photos here. We are going to make sure the first one is selected, scroll all the way down and shift click all but the last one. So we're gonna highlight all, so we have 90 selected and 1 at the very bottom not selected. And we are going to go up here to the blend type, or blend mode, and we're gonna select lighten, and that is all. So there is a Star Trails photo. That's really all it takes. Now I know that this editing process, I seem to have taken a long time explaining everything. I just wanted to make sure I hit every point so that you know exactly why we do something, how we do something, and so you can see, or so you don't miss anything. But really, all in all, once you get onto the computer, it takes like no time at all to edit. So I'd say once you're on the computer, maybe 15 minutes at max, and most of that is just waiting on export and opening his layers and importing all that stuff. But the longest part of this whole process is going to be sitting out in the middle of nowhere in the dark, taking photos for anywhere from an hour to 3 hours. But yeah, so this is our finished result, and I do like it. The only thing I would change is I would call the airport, and I would have the tower instruct the plane that is in the photo to go around me. But that seems a little impractical. But seriously, planes and telephone lines ruin everything when it comes to landscape photography. But anyway, guys, I hope you liked the video and I hope you learned something. And if you did, please hit the like button and go ahead and subscribe if you have not done so. And I will see you cool cats on the flip-flop. I'm not even wearing the wireframe glasses and I'm still saying really stupid things.